What's up? Today we're talking to Greg Harper, one of the best swimmers in triathlon. And the cool thing is, he's one of us. He was a swimmer at Cal. And he's also making great content as a regular member of the crew over at the Triathlon Hour podcast. Greg let out the swim at 70.3 Worlds last year and competes as a pro, but also had a kid this year, so his schedule is a bit dialed back. He raced some this year, but next year he's aiming for a big goal of setting the swim course record at the Kona IRONMAN World Championships. We were interested in talking to Greg about how does one make that transition from a swimmer to a pro triathlete? What do swimmers need to know to be successful in that move? What do triathletes get wrong about swim training? And the all-important question of whether or not it's actually socially acceptable to wear a watch during swim workouts. So if triathlon interests you, if multi-sport interests you, hope you enjoy this conversation. Here's Greg Harper. Welcome to Social Kick. I'm Brian Lundquist. We got a partial crew. Luke No here, and that's too bad because we got a guest that he would want to talk to. But we do have Dr. John Mullen, and joining us, a crossover athlete, pro triathlete, Greg Harper. What's going on, Greg?
Not much. I appreciate you guys having me. And I was saying before the show, I'm just kind of honored, actually. You guys have like Olympians on like every other week, and then I'm showing up. I'm like, all right, yeah, what's up? What's up, guys? So, yeah, no, I'm pumped to be on and, yeah, talk some swim, maybe talk some triathlon, which could be unique for some of your listeners. I don't know, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll find out. So I figured, and selfishly, the context on this conversation is, and I'll give the intro to how I came to know Greg and get introduced to him. But I like many swimmers, I think, had an interest in other sports post swimming. And one of my things that I always wanted to do as a swimmer was to do a triathlon. I did cross country for a year in high school. The seasons conflicted, so I wasn't able to do all 4 years of cross country, but like I wanted to. I always wanted to run track. And so that was like a key objective. So I retired from swimming. Like within a few months, I did my first triathlon. And then that like planted a seed to work in the bike industry and then ultimately race a bunch of triathlons. And then a few years ago, I ended up, doing the thing that I always wanted to do, which was race Ironman Kona. And, I don't think that that's a story that, only I share, that there's a lot of swimmers who may be curious about other sports. And honestly, I'm an advocate for fitness for life. And there's a whole lot of people that finish their swimming career and are like, fuck this, I'm done swimming. I'm ready to go, like I'm never going in a pool again. But it doesn't mean that they don't like to work out or exercise anymore after that. And so actually that kind of world led me to be introduced to Greg, because a few years ago I got into this. My buddy egged me on to do an Otillo swim run race. And so if you haven't heard about it, it's like this competition of swimming and running and swimming and running. And it, if you do it fast, it takes like 5.5 hours, something like that. It's a team like partner race. I think you can do it individually, but anyway, we did this training day. Turns out Greg and I both were doing the same race, Otillo Catalina in California. And we showed up to Santa Cruz, and there's a group of like 10 or 12 guys all dressed up, running with our swimming paddles, having our like pull buoys strapped to our waist, running around downtown Santa Cruz like we're Scuba Steve, looking like total idiots.
Oh, he fit right in Santa Cruz though,
Exactly.
Like par for the course.
Yeah, and it was in that same workout where we did like a simulated race around Santa Cruz, and then Greg and his partner in that race took off running. And I remember the last couple miles, or like the last mile through town, I remember looking at my watch and I was maxed out running 5:15 pace, and you guys were running away from me, and I was like, I'm totally blown. And that's the first seed that got planted in my mind that I knew when I heard you were pro in triathlon. I thought, okay, no surprises there. And so you guys went on to win that Otillo race, by the way. And then, now you're famously on your show, Jack refers to you as the third fastest swimmer in triathlon. Yeah. And I'd love to know more about that. What do you got, John?
I want to know what percentage of swimmers would the Otillo race be the most hated thing that they would do? Running and swimming over and over with their gear.
I think there's more swim proportionally than triathlon. So, I mean, that race we did, it's a ton of swimming. You know, it's like
So much.
10,000 meters. So in the end,
Okay.
I think the swimmers would actually succeed. And, you know, trail running too, like going up a steep grade, like they're aerobically fit. Like it's not like they have to have these beautiful run mechanics. So I think actually that race that we both did would lend itself very well to a swimmer. You know, then you talk about triathlon, you got to get the gear and the bikes, and you show up on a road bike, and then you realize everyone has $10,000 time trial bikes, and it's just like, I mean, especially like Brian going to Kona. I mean, that's the highest level, and the triathletes are so obsessed about it. But no, I think, and Brian's so right. You need an outlet when swimming's over. So it kind of makes sense, like these other endurance adventure type races, and you can have a lot of fun with them. But you know, coming into running post swimming can be a challenge, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that swimmers face. You know, their tendons and things aren't quite ready for all the running sometimes.
Yeah. And we're excited to get to talk to you because you've successfully made that transition. I think have a unique perspective on what it takes to be, you know, at an elite level of swimming as, you know, a former college swimmer at Cal, and now, you know, you know, competing and being first out of the water at, you know, half Ironman Worlds. These are, you know, not slouch athletes that you're competing against and able to show them like what prowess looks like in a particular discipline. And also I should mention too, that one of the other ways that I've kind of you've stayed on my radar is that I'm a real fan of the show that, you know, you do with Jack Kelly and Sam Appleton on the Triathlon Hour. I just think I'm a fan of swimming, and the reason why in triathlon, and that's how we started doing Social Kick, is because we were fans of swimming, and we would go to John's house and we would watch the live stream of World or NCAAs, and John would drink scotch and I would drink some beers, and we would just talk shit about swimming for a while. And like, I'm also a fan of other Olympic sports and triathlon, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's just cool to do this show. I love listening to your show for that reason. And it's like also one of those things, it's a conversation that I can listen to while I'm working out and feel like I'm sort of in a hangout session. You know, it's easy listening. And I think you guys do a great job with that. You brought a unique perspective to that show, and I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's cool. It's cool to have more.
No, that's super nice of you to say. And yeah, you know, in your show too, it's like, I'm a fan, and you know, you guys post good clips on Instagram, of course. And I get triathletes who like send me this, like, oh, look at this set or something. And it's just funny because I'm just like, oh, could you do this? And you're just like, no, this is like different. This is different than what we do. We're triathletes. We are slow. These people are incredible. Right. So it's just interesting. Like, yeah, the level of swim, like knowledge, and like, it's almost like me and them, like, you know, it's like, oh, let's get Jack Alexi on the show. And it's like, oh, Greg Harper, like, oh, you guys are like the same. I'm like, no, we're not the same. Like, we're not the same at all. But anyway, so yeah, and you guys do a good job too. It's like, we don't have to, it's fun, like kind of talking shit about triathlon and swimming, and even making fun of yourself being stepped up, because it's not that serious. Like, it is and it isn't, right? So you guys bring that lighthearted flavor to it. And I think that's how we grow these kind of niche sports as well, right? And that seems like something that you guys are into, right? You want to give swimmers a voice, you want to talk about it yourself, and you want to elevate their own platforms as well as your own.
Yeah, and I think it's a tricky dance. One of the reasons why I think it's fun to listen to you guys, besides your insider take and expertise on the sport itself, is that you're like totally willing to be controversial and unfiltered. And that's something that, you know, I've found that swimming, you know, we have found that swimming is challenging to be totally brutally honest, for fear of pissing off your guests. And there's a few bridges that we've burned here and there. People upset that we cover and spotlight topics that they don't like, or share a take that they disagree with. And, you know, it's funny to see how agitated some people can get when you share a contrarian take too. So
yeah,
but the sport needs that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, some of your guests, you know, they might be young, right? You got that young crowd, you know, they'll emotionally mature when they get to their 30s and like, oh, it was no worries. But not a big deal. You know, swimming, that age of people you talk to is probably lower than, you know, some of the people in the pro triathlon world. But no, like you said, it's kind of fun, and you know, it's like controversial, but like you said, it's not so serious, because it's just like, it's like these silly things, right? You're like, hey guys, we said a swim take. Like, we're not out here talking about serious stuff, right? So my brother-in-law always likes to say hard stances on soft topics. I think that's like a good name for like a podcast, you know? It's like,
That's
relax. Great. It's not that serious, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I wish that everybody would relax a little bit about that, because what helps sport grow is more voices, more exposure, more entertainment. And that's all it really is entertainment, you know, and frankly, thank you, you know, for Social Kick listeners for being along for this journey. And we do this because it's fun to share our perspective. We also just do it because we're having a great time. Like, so, and you should be having a great time talking to your friends. And so, yeah, I think like the more that people can realize that it's, we're just being fans, you know? So I think it'll be a lot better. Well, let's get to a couple of audience questions. And I'm going to make fun of John for initially posting a photo of pro triathlete Sam Long on our Instagram.
Number one triathlon fan right here, everyone.
to search for photos of Greg from his own Instagram account. But let's hit a few of these. For the aforementioned Jeremy Bagshaw, former teammate of yours, wanted to know how much will a company have to pay Greg to start wearing a watch while he swims?
$1 million. It's so funny. Like, one of my favorite things to say is like, never take some advice from someone who wears a watch in the pool, because triathletes are just, they're like, and a lot of them will like start and stop their watch and lap it and things like in the pool. And I'm just like, yo, relax.
You
like,
gotta be kidding
they
me.
have their form goggles on, like, my pace is slow, and they get frustrated. I'm like, no one good in swimming grew up doing any of that, right? So it's a lot of type A, like very data driven, and I'm just like, throw that stuff away. Swimming is about like feeling for the water. Like, they haven't learned fundamental skills of swimming, and they're trying to like analyze it to be better. I'm like, you can't breathe effectively, but you're out there like, yeah, just crushing yards. I'm like, oh man, it's tough. So yeah, it's funny. I think someone would have to pay me a lot of money, actually, because I think people would disrespect me if I like started like wearing a watch and promoting it while somebody like, yo, dude, that's not like, this guy's a sellout. So it'd have to be a lot of money, I think.
Now it's a brand. You've made it a brand thing, so it's a problem if you go the other direction. $1 million's a little rich. I have to call bullshit on that. I know it would be less than that.
Well,
I think form goggles are now. That's not a type of watch, is it? So I don't know. I think there's ways around it. You have like a whole arm panel that has data on it. There's ways for you to get around this.
Yeah, or the EO swim sensor. But that one maybe seems like a little more
actually helpful
data. Yeah. I had a smart goggle company like reach out to me a couple times, but I just was like, I just can't. Like, goggles are like $20. Like, I can't sell this product to be like, this is going to change your swimming. It's like, you probably should unwind a little bit when you go to the pool. You know, I think it's a good time. We're all plugged into. I'm like, just go to the pool and use the clock and your internal effort, and you'll probably get better easier that way, rather than like try to measure every little thing.
Yeah, truth bombs. My rebuttal though is I don't want to have to think about counting the workout, and a lot of times I go to the pool without writing the workout, so then I could just track the distance and wear the watch. I did convert, although now my watch finally died and delaminated, and literally in the middle of a 25 was like buzzing at me, and then it was just like perma on. It would just stay on, and then it died. So now I've been without a watch for a while now, and it feels kind of freeing, I have to admit.
Boom. Yeah. No watch club here, everyone.
Yeah, no watch club. Well, I'm going to rebuttal your rebuttal, because I've had people say this to me, and what I say to them, if you're not like taking a structured workout to the pool, then like you don't really want to get better anyway. So, but see, Brian's you've already reached your peak. You're just doing some maintenance now. But there are people who are really trying to improve, and I'm like, if you're not doing like some structure, like you don't have a workout or like a plan, then you're probably not going to get better anyway. So like, oh, I need to count my laps. Like, you're too lazy to count your laps? Probably too lazy to swim correctly. Just give up.
Okay. Well, I do. So let's go down this topic then, because I was going to save this for later and talk about Kona first, but I like this is, let's go. I want to get into the reason for our audience why I think like, you know, Greg has important insights is because there's things that I think maybe triathletes get wrong about how to train for swimming. And there's also some things that former swimmers may be able to learn about how to train for other sports and how you race and train and prepare for your primary discipline a little bit differently than you might have thought about before. And so to that extent, my game plan for swimming, you're absolutely right. I was not going to the pool to try to get better. I went to the pool to recover and maintain feel for the water, because I know that I could mail in a 50 to 51 minute Ironman swim, whether I'm trying really hard and swimming 10 or 12 hours a week, or if I'm swimming, 3 hours a week. And so definitely, and you're right to call that out, but I wasn't trying to get better at swimming. I was actually actively just trying to maintain. And then I was getting more aerobically fit from riding the bike and from running, but not from getting in the pool. And that, I think, is really just a time commitment and savings and strategy, because and realizing where my biggest gains were going to come from. I could bang my head against the wall trying to get that much better at swimming. And I just didn't need to. So, but I think that your point is right, that most people, if they really want to get better at swimming, you do need to bring some structure to it, which to that end, maybe I just want to open up, what are some of the things that you think, maybe let's start with triathlon or triathletes who are learning to swim and structure workouts and how to train effectively. What are some of the common pitfalls that you see, fallacies of these swimmers or these triathletes trying to learn to swim?
Yeah, I think it's kind of treating it kind of like biking and running, which is kind of a lot of easy volume, right? Or you go out there and do it. And that's important. We all need an aerobic base, but if your technique is shit and you're not addressing that, then doing 3 1,000s aerobic is that's not going to help you. You're writing motor pathways in your brain, just reinforcing terrible technique. And every strokes that you take with bad technique, you're gonna have to unlearn. So I'm always do skills. You need to have a good breath, and you need to have good body position and head position. And I think speed too. It's speed is efficiency in the end. The faster you can swim 100, the faster you can probably do an Ironman swim. Now, we're not talking 40-second 100-yard freestyles, right?
Yeah, how fast can you swim 100, Greg?
Probably 47 to 48, probably 47 in yards.
Nice.
But if someone can only do a minute, right? And say my threshold's about a minute, right? Their threshold's not going to be closer than that percentage difference, right? Proportionally, it's going to be the same amount slower because I'm actually not that fast, right? So I think just being speed, it's I made this tweet or something the other day, and I was just said something along these lines. People were that's ridiculous. And I'm Eliud Kipchoge can crush you in a 400 on a track, and Katie can crush you in a 50-yard freestyle. They are fast. They're just not elite sprinters, right? So I think that mindset, you can take that to heart. Yes, I don't need to be Jack Alexi or someone, but having some speed is very important because, that it just means your technique's good and all that. But yeah, aerobic, I think speed and just doing aerobic, just well-rounded programming, right? I do some breath control. I can breathe to both sides. My legs aren't sinking. I can kick effectively. All these little skills that swimmers learn that triathletes kind of neglect because they want to do their 3 1,000s aerobic at LT1 pace. And I'm just all right, let's not do that, guys.
What do we need to do? So I spent a period of time when I was living and training in Auburn, still coaching the triathlon team there and their swimming. And I ran into exactly that. A bunch of athletes that had a program and they didn't feel like they got anything out of the workout in the pool if they didn't leave with some volume and some aerobic work done. And yet, I'm seeing crossover kick on freestyle like this and, doing a little breaststroke kick, single leg breaststroke kick with a freestyle arms. It's one of the weirder ticks that I ever see in stroke technique. It's so strange when you see it. And I didn't know how to message that to these terrible technique athletes that their time truly was better spent trying to go easier, trying to do drills and build good form, which, is, I think, into the age group level, where a lot of those types of skills are honed and those neural pathways are formed to build that like early swimmer technique that, you know, the three of us are all privy to, that it's a skill that we'll take with us for the rest of our lives. You know, you learn better when you're really young. And but also I think you're not only having like those technical, you know, insights and stroke instruction given to you, you're doing it thousands and thousands of times because you're also doing the volume in the pool. And that's what I think is really challenging for teaching adults how to learn proper technique is you kind of do have to do it a lot to get it. And you got to be in the water every day. So like my advice has been to swimmers, non-native swimmers learning to do it, coming from a different athletic background, is like, you need to do technique, but you also need to be in the pool like 5 or 6 days a week. Oh yeah. And if you're not willing to do that, to get in the pool 5 or 6 days a week, then I think it's like a real struggle to learn how to do it really well. And it's not so much for the aerobic benefit of swimming 5 to 6 days a week. It's for that like for those neuro pathways to start to form with high volumes of repetition with a lot of regularity. And I just think that's a tricky balance.
Have either of you like given lessons or like coached someone who's like kind of newer to swimming, like as an adult?
Yeah, it's so freaking hard.
Yeah, no, for all the reasons you just said. And I like to stress frequency too, of course, like that feel for the water. And the thing about it is it's a time management problem as well, right? Because I can hop on my trainer and I got kids at home or something. Like going to the pool takes time. Usually people are frustrated with it because I can get to the pool 3 days a week. I have 45 minutes. They can get in 2K. They swim 6K a week. It's kind of unstructured and they're just frustrated. And they're like, why even bother? And I'm like, I get it. It's literally the least important part of a triathlon. Like an Ironman is so long. I mean, yes, if you're very, very slow at swimming and you want to be competitive, you have to get better. But if you're just going to go complete an Ironman, they're like, yeah, I went to the pool and I swam 4K straight and I did it. I'm like, it depends what your goals are, right? So yeah, you know, it's been hard. Over the last year, I've really tried to work on this, like coaching someone effectively from afar. And it's just like, you kind of fall back on some drills that are, and I saw it was this Luca's, what's his last name? The Pleasanton kids?
Mijalkovic.
Yeah, like long dog or underwater recovery. That's one I go to a lot with people because it forces them to do things well. Like there are certain drills that I think you can use effectively from afar. And, you know, you can sprinkle some in, do a little speed, sprinkle some in, do a little endurance. And it kind of like, hopefully that forces them to swim better. And if their technique's breaking down, go back and do a little drill. And short intervals, I think, and short rests are your friend as well. Like, oh, we can do 50s aerobic with 5 seconds rest. And that little reset instead of grinding those long intervals too. Do you guys know Andrew Sheaf? He's the UVA coach. He's a UVA coach. Anyway, he's got a lot of good content out there and he's super smart. He wrote a book about swimming too, kind of about like teaching people from afar as well. And I think like I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, I the structure. John wrote a book about swimming too, by the way. Way to go, John.
Dude, I got to get that. Yeah. What's the plug-in right now? What's it called?
Swimming Science, real creative name. You can find it on Amazon. If it's not sold out, who knows?
Back ordered for months.
It's been on Oprah's short list for a long time. So, you know, you brought up an example that reminds me of a mistake that I made as a swimmer migrating into cycling and running. Is when I first started running, I didn't run with any structure. I would go like on runs and I would run to feel like some aerobic benefit. And I'd probably push myself to, you know, a high aerobic, but not anaerobic, and no intervals with no intentionality on pace. And like, it's easy for us as swimmers to sit here and talk about like the structure of a workout. Obviously, you show up to the pool, there's a workout, we do a warm up, there's a initial warm up set, there's a main set, there's a focus for the day, there's a warm down. Like that's the life that we live. Nobody ever turns up to the pool and just does 2K, 3K unscripted, unless it's on the house and it's a recovery day and you're loving it, right? But yet the number of times that I hear of swimmers, like triathlon swimmers, showing up to the pool and just swimming for 30 minutes, swimming for 45 minutes, doing 3K. And I'm like, what did you do? And there was no structure to it. And I laugh at it. But I also would just go on bike rides and just do
the same another.
And then people who are into that sport are like, wait, you don't structure it at all? And so I have to call myself out that, like, I've made that mistake. And I bet there's a lot of swimmers who go into triathlon and make the same damn mistake of, like, structure is always good for everything. All the workouts, not every single one. Recovery, maybe not. It's all nice, just to get out for low end aerobic and ride for 2 hours. Don't look at the power meter. But I think it's kind of funny how we're kind of like blind to what got us there. And then you don't even think about like how being inquisitive about how it might work in a different sport.
Yeah, that's a great thought. And you can just get into trouble running like that too. I mean, and the thing about swimming is it's the same, but different. Like you can go to the pool and like go hard a lot. But if you take that mentality and like, oh, I'm getting into running, like, oh, I should like try get after it most days. Like then you'll just find yourself injured, right? Like you have to build capacity with a lot of like easy running. And maybe it's like, oh, I'm looking at my heart rate monitor and my coach says I have to keep my heart rate under this and especially swimmers. I mean, their bones and their tendons are not that good. Like a lot of them are bad, They actually did this study at Stanford on bone density, and it was like all the athletic teams and regular people. And swimmers were below the regular people. Gymnasts are the highest and all this. And it was just one-off study, right? And like, but it's almost like swimmers are in the pool so much with no weight-bearing activity. And then outside of the pool, what are you doing? You're chilling. Like you had morning practice, all this. So it's interesting. And like you said, not having a plan going to the pool and swimming like 45 minutes is pretty common. Or they're like, oh, it's just an aerobic day. Do 40 minutes aerobic or something. I'm like, oof. Yeah, you need some structure, especially if you're going to like try to improve your technique or something.
No, I couldn't agree more. I see it a lot as a physical therapist, and it happens with, people getting into triathlons or just any activity, and running is usually the easiest one to get into, where the volume and load is just ramped way too quickly from years of inactivity, or worse than inactivity, being a swimmer with low bone mineral density, like you said there. So I guess when you work with swimmers, or even looking back at your own career, like what's the right load progression you think when getting into running after a swimming career, or really just focusing in the pool?
Like months and months of like just easy running, essentially.
Yeah.
Like that's when I kind of got back. I did run as a youth, and even did some triathlons, and then I swam mostly for like 5 years, didn't run for a while. So when I came back into running, I still had some of that, and I played other sports as well. But like I went through injury cycle after injury cycle. And then one time I was like, all right, 3 months, I'm not running one step hard. I'm just going to like run easy and see if I can build some volume here. And it's just like building your capacity to then put work on top of it. But it doesn't mean I was just like running easy to feel like, I was like, oh, I'm trying to keep my heart rate around 130 or 140 beats like every single run. And yeah, is it a good way to get like race ready? Not particularly. But if you don't have that foundation, then you'll never get to that race block because you'll always be injured. So I think, really, and it's just kind of the opposite, because swimming, like the swimmers you guys have on your podcast, they're going hard every day, right? I mean, maybe not every single day, but a lot, right? And you can recover. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just kind of like building the resiliency of your body. And you're a physical therapist, like your tendons and all that type of stuff, like get it callous to get a little, that get those ankles strong after all the wiggly years doing butterfly kicks off the wall.
I wanted to call back to one of the things you mentioned earlier about, intervals and getting, 50s on short rest and I think like getting a quick trainer workout in can be super efficient on the bike, but also getting in the pool and just doing 20 50s at a high intensity, best average on a minute that's only 20 minutes. Like, it sounds like a big set, but if you just are short for time, that's only 20 minutes, and you can go cold turkey into them if you want to, or, 21s, 15 I don't know, like on 130, you can get a lot of quality swimming done in a short period of time. But you got to be willing to do it too. John famously likes to do 2025's butterfly. That's his like go-to. Don't have anything else to do. We're doing 2025's butterfly.
2025's fly. Exactly. Then a 50 no breath cruise and you're good, man. What else do you need?
50
you can't tell me
breath.
That's not effective. Oof. Yeah. Come on now.
You're
going 47. You can do it.
No, I think you're so right on that. And triathletes don't like to go that fast in the pool either. It seems like, they know maybe on running, I should probably go to the track a little bit, or in cycling, let me do some hard hills. But then in the pool, they're like, oh, I just need to do aerobics and like, this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, increase your speed too. And it's just more fun. I mean, get a buddy, go to the pool and do 2050s on the minute. Like, you guys are going to have some war stories. Like, dude, remember on number 14? Like, I thought I was going to go see God or whatever it is, right? Like, it's like, it's kind of fun. That's when you like bond with people too, is through those type of sets. And I'm sure we all have best friends who are swimmers too. Like, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I wanted to mention something. We talk about training speed in the pool and its relevance for triathlon, because and we're not going to do like a full Kona recap here necessarily, so this may come out a couple of weeks after the race, but we just watched the women's race in Kona, and Lucy Charles-Barclay has been the best swimmer in that sport for quite a while, led out the race, not the first time that she's got out of the water with a minute and a half lead roughly. And I was listening to part of the show you guys most recently released on the Triathlon Hour, talking about you would never in a swimming race go all out or like burn a match for 300 meters and then settle back into a pace. It's like a unique thing to pack dynamics and racing, but also really bizarre. And I'm just wondering about like how do you, I want to parlay this into like, how do you train and think differently for triathlon swimming versus training for swimming and racing swimming? Because I feel like some of the things that I often hear are, straight arm works better in choppy water for racing, or, how much you need to actually practice sighting while you're training and swimming, or, other things like surges in speed that, really aren't a factor in pool swimming and racing, where you're mostly just doing your pace, your controlled pace and race strategy, but you don't need to think about drafting off of other people or, reacting to race dynamics. So I'm just curious if there's been anything that you've learned and adapted that's really different and unique to success in swimming and triathlon versus swimming for pool racing.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like it's a different answer for me than maybe like what I should say that people should do. Like I came into the sport and like I was the fastest swimmer, and like honestly in the open water, I can kind of do whatever I want out there. Right. And I can train way less intensity now than I had to be fast in the pool. Right. Like I did a lot of VO2 type work growing up. We all did. So I can do, less of that and still keep my speed edge. But in terms of like success, I think race experience and just like open water experience is super big. And like you said, it's like these surges in pace, and that's why I stress speed so much too. And I coach a few pro triathletes, and it's like if in the first minute, if you're behind, like then you just can't get in the pack, right? So you have to have speed to get there. So their focus is getting faster because they're trying to catch a guy like me out in front, right? When I don't really have to do that as much, right? But I mean, you talk about someone like Lucy Charles-Barclay, and she's been at the top of the sport for a long time, and she comes from a competitive swimming background, right? But she'll throw that 300-meter surge in and then settle into her pace. And, age group and pro racing is different. In the pro racing are these dynamics. In age group racing, largely, it is somewhat of a time trial. Maybe when you get to Kona and there's wave starts, like there's a little bit of that. But, yeah, I mean, drafting, it's like you just got to be confident out there too. And when I coach people, I just try to give them the skills to believe that they're good swimmers. So when they show up to the open water, they're not like so frightened or scared per se. But yeah, I mean, I think the awareness, who makes good open water swimmers is water polo players. The natural head up stroke. I mean, we talk about different strokes. Like you don't have to be scrappy out there. Like stroke rate super important, I think, in the wavy conditions, or like you said, if you look at Lucy Charles Barkley, she's just like crazy stroke rate. I mean,
super high stroke rate.
Yeah, and like I have one arm that's sort of straight when I swim, and one arm that's a little more bent. I just think you don't have to have that like perfect technique, and kind of in the end, because people like just aren't that good. Like you can just kind of get away with being like, if you look at Alistair Brownlee, who you guys might know, he's double gold medalist. Watch his swim stroke; it's shit. But he comes out at the front of every race he does. Because, yes, he's super fit, but he has a crazy high stroke rate. His head is like kind of high. He just can sight perfectly. He's super aware. He gets on people's feet and he succeeds. And that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah, it's funny to see the contrast for me, because there's a guy who I swam with. He came and visited us in Auburn and swam for like a semester with us. And then he left. And then years later, he was a pro triathlete. His name is Lucas Voigt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a few years ago, I think he set like one of the fastest ever swims in an Ironman triathlon, going like 45 or 46. It might have been in Roth or somewhere in Europe. And
it might have been like 43 high or like 44. It was fast.
It was fast, and the clip of him swimming is, I mean, I remember this from his days swimming with us. He just had a beautiful freestyle stroke, and it's perfect. But it was being deployed in like perfectly calm conditions. Super smooth water, like perfect for a social media, post of idyllic conditions. And that can be really fast too. And that, is the technique that I would like to boast about, the swimming technique, but like a long loping freestyle versus a faster rate and a straighter arm technique for distance swimming is kind of the approach that I would take. And, I never knew if that was slowing me down that much, but and I could tell that when you come into a swell that you need to rate up, or else, you can't just rely on coasting. If you're static, you're not propelling yourself forward. So, but I feel like there's some techniques that can work translating from pool swimming to open water if the conditions are right. But then you kind of need to be adaptable to certain different types of skills to be able to race differently depending on what the conditions of the day give you, it seems like.
I think that's the perfect word, adaptable. Like just being able to change a little bit. And I mean, you see Florian Wellbrook. I mean, he's got that same freestyle, and he's the gold medalist in open water. I would like to see him swim in very rough conditions. Like I feel like he would have to change his stroke a little bit at times, right? He'll rely on what he does to propel himself and create that massive glide. But in the end too, like triathletes aren't those pro swimmers too. Like they can't just get their stroke to look like that, right? I mean, that's how my stroke's not like that. I'm only 5'10". I never had a huge glide. I mean, I can swim distance per stroke. I know how, and that's being adaptable, like you said. But yeah, it's kind of like different stroke for different folks too, right? I mean, we saw Janet Evans, how she swam, and then you see other people. It's like you kind of got to find what works for you and your body, and the only way you're going to do that is like really exploring lots of different things in the pool or racing, or like you said, just trying to be adaptable and figure things out there a little bit. Like put yourself in a position to do open water races, do more triathlons, and gain some experience, and then maybe you can figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. What do you think is, so for anybody who's curious about migrating into triathlon from swimming, is there like an ideal way to do it? Do you kind of go, hey, like sign up for an Olympic, do a sprint, get a bike, I mean, if they're like curious about it, because I find it kind of interesting right now that, for years, Ironman triathlon, like pure triathletes used to kind of protect that as you got to earn it. You got to go through the Olympic path to get there. And it was always, you had people in their late 30s that are winning the world title. And you see the similar thing in marathon running too, where like Kipchoge's like in his mid 30s going sub 2. And a lot of times those like top end marathoners were racing on the track before they got into marathon running. It was like this progression. And now that seems to be changing quite a bit in triathlon, where you have a lot of people who are like intentionally growing up in training and jumping into it at an earlier age, and now, winning titles at a high level, sort of shifting this paradigm of, oh, you need to put in the time in the years of training and build that foundation. Like, no, not necessarily. So I don't know. I'm just curious about that kind of shift, and if there's any real damage to just, hey, if you got the time, like, you want to do an Ironman, go do it. You're 18. I don't care. Go do it.
I would never, ever tell anyone to do that. I'm kind of old school in that way. So the thing about it is, the Gustav Eden, right? He won a world championship Ironman. He's 25. The dude's been training like a pro since he's 14. It's like these sandpiper kids, right? And I'm actually curious to hear you guys' thoughts, because it seems like kids are doing more professional type training younger, and they're faster, earlier. How long do these careers last, right? So I just kind of think of it as like a training age. And if you're coming from swimming, I would say get the road bike and do a sprint triathlon and just see how it goes. But there's also like this social media influencer type age too, right? Where, hey, I'm doing a triathlon, I'm gonna do an Ironman in 6 months, like follow my journey, all that type of stuff. And that sells, not like, hey, I got a rinky dink road bike, I'm gonna try a sprint distance triathlon. So I think that's still the smart way to do it and build up. I mean, maybe you could do it it doesn't have to be 5 years, but you can do an Ironman in 18 months or 2 years. But I think taking the steps is a good way to do it, just like in a safety injury prevention perspective. But yeah, kind of like you said, if you've swam your whole life, obviously you have a good aerobic system, so maybe you could get away with it, or, as long as your body can handle the load. But yeah, I'm curious to see the longevity of some of this endurance sports craze that we're in. I mean, swimming's elevated, cycling's elevated, running's elevated, triathlon's elevated. People are doing longer stuff faster, earlier in their careers, right? So I don't know if we're going to see the 36-year-old marathoners who started marathoning at 24. Like, I'm not sure we're going to see it, or even the cyclists or the triathletes too, or, even the swimmers who could keep going and they're like, I'm kind of burned out, and they're like 23 years old. And you're like, oh shit. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I feel like we're kind of in not a golden age, but like a little bit of a shift in all these types of sports.
Yeah. And I think you nailed it with the term, training age, and where that really encapsulates when people can, start to succeed in things. And it's the earlier you can have that training begin during maturation, then you can put in the volume and get there. It's just like you said, because can your body hold up? Can you mentally hold up? And I think some of these things are getting better, but we're still figuring a lot out. Are you able to have a training age of 40 or 50 and still be competitive, right? Or is it, okay, we have about 10 years of training age. Is it from 14 to 24 or 24 to 34 where we maximize that capacity? And it's probably individual for everyone, but still, it's like you said, we haven't seen it before in some of these endurance sports because there have been the gatekeepers, or, it's just been, hey, you don't start this till after your career in swimming or your career in whatever other sport you were doing.
Yep. No, totally. And like Brian said, like the kind of the gatekeeping, oh, you have to do this path. And the kids, they're like, oh, I see an Ironman, like I want to do that. And, they train super hard from ages 14 to 20. You're probably going to be better off in those 6 years than you would if you started from 20 to 26. Like, your ceiling might get higher, right? Who knows? But I still think doing the shorter stuff too is always good too. Because when you're young, you have more speed, and it's good to see how far you can get in the 5K on the track, right, before you go to a marathon. And in the end, the best, Kipchoge was on the track before. Connor Manch just set the American record in the marathon. I mean, he did do quite a bit of track running, but that dude has notoriously run an insane amount of volume for a lot of years already, even though he's actually not that old.
Well, I'm not an advocate for a lot of swim volume, I got to tell you. So we can get volume other places, but quality over quantity for sure. I'm curious too about, I want to get into some of the professional opportunities within the sport, and how, so swimming's at this interesting inflection point, I think, in the US, where there's a new CEO, the membership was down, and Phelps and Lochte were chiming in on social, went viral for, saying that, they were making light of it. I think people misunderstood it, but effectively they're just like trying to motivate, USA Swimming, saying it's not actually dead. Okay. So, but let's get going, because we do have high expectations, and, there's a home Olympics coming up too. But there's a lot more commercial opportunities, it seems, in triathlon. And yet there's also a lot of parallels between some of like how much you can earn in swimming versus what you can earn in triathlon. And so like right now, the Swimming World Cup is going on, and there's, prize money for the overall winner of the World Cup for, 100K. And that's pretty good. And I was like, oh, I wonder how that compares to triathlon racing. And then I was surprised to find out that the winner of the IRONMAN World Championships gets 125K. Now,
is it more, or is that the half? I kind of forget.
So what I found was that it's 125 for the full distance, and then it's like either 50 or 75 for the half. That was a bit mixed as to what the prize was for the half, and that the Pro Series winner gets 200.
Yeah.
And then they have for the T100, it's 210 to the winner of the season long series, 140 for second or 90 for third. And then you get 25K for each event win at a T100 event. So like last year, for example, I'll give the overall winners. So the Ironman Pro Series last year, Gregory Barnaby, his total earnings were 254K, Cat Matthews 363K on the season. And then for the T100 series that were won by Taylor Knibb and Martin Van Riel, Taylor Knibb's earnings 310 for the series and 301 for Martin. So, 300K, it's bigger than what like some swimmers are earning, but like not too drastically different. However, that's just prize money. We're not talking about all the commercial opportunities with bike sponsors and any other thing that you name, every piece of equipment that you need for tri, plus, nutrition being the big piece for endurance sports too. So, but we're getting like DMs from people talking about like, swimming's got to change, we got to rethink the format of swim meets. We got to make it more exciting. We got to create more commercial opportunities. And I'm just curious from your perspective, being, in having been in both sports and still kind of in both sports, what have you learned about like commercial opportunities and tri? What do you think like swimming can do? I don't know. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this before, and I have so many professional friends, and we try to talk about contracts and things, just because you want to know how much to try to leverage a company essentially for a sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
The T100 is when they started a few years back in 2020, right? And this is kind of a competitor to Ironman, essentially. They said, we're going to make our own product. It's going to be a commercial product. People want to consume this product because it's great television. They already pivoted to age group events starting last year. It's just, they realized that that's not really the business model that's going to like move the needle. And I feel like I see that in swimming. They're like, oh, we got to make it this thing that people care about. It's like, sorry, they're not going to in the end. Like there's going to be some fringe fans people will watch during the Olympics, but it's really just going to be swim fans who watch swimming. Triathlon fans, maybe they watch triathlon. So it's super hard. The thing that triathlon has over swimming is that age groupers and professionals share this course. And you go to races, and I'm like, at Kona this last weekend, the winners lapping age groupers as they come down about to turn into the finish chute. And you're like, whoa, the world champion just rode by me or ran by me. Right. And in the pool, it's not quite like that, right? You're not at a Masters meet like, oh, Katie Ledecky's in heat 1. Like I'm in heat 7. Like this is sick. Right. So I think that's why triathlon can succeed a little bit. I think that's unique to the sport. But I think most triathlete companies recognize that the age groupers are the ones who move the needle. They bring the money into the sport, and then that can trickle down to get pros to, and it's only a few pros who are going to move the needle. Like if Lionel Sanders or, Cat Matthews, like, oh, I use this, people are like, I'm going to buy that. But, guys like me, it's like, I really have to sell myself to maybe get a few $1,000s from a sponsor or something like that. Because in the end, it's like, why would you sponsor me? Like, I want to bring value, but it's hard too, right? So I think in swimming and triathlon, there's only going to be a few swimmers who can really drive the market. And Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And I see the Discord on like Twitter and stuff. You know, I see the Kyle Sockwells, and I followed the whole USA swimming thing. And actually, Greg Meehan was my coach. I'm like, don't talk bad about Greg. He's the best.
Greg is great.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, it's super hard. And I think, you know, with the age of social media, like you can do fun stuff. And, you know, it seemed like people like Kyle and like you guys, you give athletes voice to like putting their face on social media and things, and just like having a relationship with brands or something like that, or giving back to schools or whatever it might be. But I think this question is going to always be debated as we go on, because it's hard, and we're in niche sports essentially, right?
Yeah. And one thing I feel like is a major difference as well, is the athletes are adults versus the athletes being, under 18. And I don't quite know why it's the case that, I mean, besides, honestly, the finances, and that might be it. Why triathlon has like great participation for 18 and over, and swimming, I don't know masters swimming's numbers, but I'm just like projecting here on an outward assumption that from the outside looking in, it sure seems like the triathlon community from adults is way larger than what like master swimming might be for 18 plus. And that really where all there's like, they're inverted. I don't know what like youth triathlon participation is like, but I bet it's dwarfed by youth swimming. And so I don't know why that is, or like if there might be an opportunity for more like adults to swim. Probably like the swimwear itself is a prohibiting factor. I bet there's a bunch of adults who don't want to get into swimming for the fact that that's wearing a Speedo. But at the same time, when you're racing triathlon, you're pretty much got the same amount of coverage. So I don't know, but I think there's some of that where I was trying to figure out how do we get like more adults participating in swimming that like maybe didn't come from a swimming background, but yeah, it might be like the shoe thing where, you can sell shoes because everybody has feet, and, so Nike's much bigger than just the running community because everybody can wear Nike, so I get the marketability of products outside and the accessibility to it because, a bunch of people have running shoes. That's a much bigger sport. Sure, why not? It's adjacent to running, whereas swimming is just not the same. So I don't know. What you got?
And don't we think, a lot of triathletes that aren't swimmers, they don't have like a big endurance background. They probably start with like a 5K or some like walk run thing that's heavily promoted their way. Then they pick up maybe biking, and then swimming's the last thing. So it's kind of like the feeder into that world. And it's just, something else that they want to keep challenging themselves with, where swimming is just kind of on its own island to some degree.
Yeah. And, there's so many group runs and things like
it's just like the low barrier. Yeah,
it's swimming. It's like a lot of what I do these days is sometimes someone has a triathlon coach and they're kind of frustrated with their swimming, right? And they're like, hey, let me try to hire Greg, get better at swimming. I come in and try to write workouts, but most of these triathletes are swimming by themselves, right? And I think that's just adult swimming in general. Like, yes, there's a few masters teams depending on where you live, but like if your entry to the sport is I'm going to this sport, it's pretty difficult for me to swim 2 laps. I don't have any stroke instruction. I'm not talking to anyone. It's like, I don't know how you're going to get people to keep coming back. Right. So it's like, you really like, if you go to, I grew up in Walnut Creek, so I'm on the Aqua Bears. There's a master's program. There's 5 practices a day. There's 200 people on the team. There's coaches on decks. Anyone can go. There's all levels. That's going to foster community. And that's an incredibly successful master's program in aquatic community, like in the larger Bay Area. Right. But I live in New York now, and I'm like, dude, you have to like have 18 memberships to join pools. And it's like, it's just tough. Right. So I think
we hear it from Luke all the time.
Yeah. So Luke's struggle's real, apparently, Brian.
Yeah. It is a little bit of struggle. I have one buddy who I swim with, and that's kind of my savior. He swam at ASU actually. But yeah, and he's fast, and it's fun. But yeah, I think a lot of the enjoyment can be lost, I guess. I mean, swimming when you're a kid is like joking around between sets is the fun part, right?
And I do think that, you know, Grown Up Swimming is an organization that's trying to do this where it's like, hey, let's just have fun. Let's bring back kind of the summer league type of swimming. But like you said, there's a lot of barriers for adults. And I mean, one you didn't even mention is like workout times. It's like, oh, I have a 4 a.m. practice I can go to, or like an 8 p.m. practice. So there's a bunch of different things in my mind that restrict adults from maybe participating in swimming. Are there other things other than what you mentioned that you think are preventing people from just like, you know, going and doing a swim workout?
Yeah, I think like what Brian said, like just fear essentially, or like judgment, right? Like you put on your, you know, it was funny. I told this story the other day, and there was a guy, he got in the pool next to me and he was messing with his watch and stuff. And I'm swimming, like he wasn't swimming that great. And I was just kind of like being a dick and judging him in my head. And then we got on the wall, and then we like had this great conversation. He's like, oh, I'm really new to swimming. Like, I'm really just trying here. And like, I kind of gave him some pointers, and we had a great conversation. I was like, he probably was pumped on it, and that's great. I hope I can help him on the swim journey, but it's like, it can be just solo, isolating, frustrating, I think too. Unless you kind of go into it with the mindset of like, it's just like, I'm in the pool, like, woo, I'm unwinding. But you know, it's hard. People want to see improvement too if you do something too. So I think that's a big deal. And going to the pool at 7:30 p.m. when it's dark outside by yourself isn't like a super motivating thing for people to do, right? So I think the times is a big one.
Yeah, fuck that. We need more outdoor pools. We need more pool access. Indoor pools, they're too cold. And sometimes too hot. I don't know. I'm Goldilocks when it comes to these pools. You got to get them at the right temp. I don't want them to be, you know, but it's like famously like really dingy, you know, a lot of pools, and that's not, you know, very, very inviting. We all know that like the worst part of swim practice is the anxiety of, you know, trying to think about getting in, and then those first 200 yards. So,
I mean, I can't drop in at a pool in New York. Like I can't just no, but I can't just go to a pool and pay and go. Like there's not a single pool that will let you do that. Now you go to California, you can kind of waltz in and pay a fee. And then you go to Hawaii and every pool is free. So the further east you go, I mean, depending on where you're starting, but like California, great. Hawaii, amazing. New York, shit. So it's like, and it's kind of ingrained in the culture. Like New York's like hustling, like we commute an hour and a half and we work, but we don't like people around me, like don't even exercise. Like where I live, I'm like out running. People are like, what are you up to? I'm just like, just doing my thing, man. Like, yeah. So I think culture and like the American hustle too is like a large part of it.
You know, I often think whenever people ask me, you know, you get that question sometimes about like, oh, if you could live in any era, like what would it be? And like the one filter that I apply on top of that is any era, like I'd have to live in an era where it was socially acceptable to exercise, which is basically like the 1970s forward. Yep. Because anything before that, you're just like, what's he running from? Where's he going?
Yeah, well, the endurance craze of the 80s, and my dad was actually a professional triathlete in the 80s, like at the onslaught of it. So yeah, and that's kind of when people got into it and were like, oh, this is like a fun thing to do. What
did professionalism in that era? What was
my
that
dad
like?
was sponsored by Nike, man. Like he's like, yeah, I would just email all them and they would be like, sure. And I was like, oh, wow, it was different back then.
Wait, they had emails back then?
It's the only email they ever got. They were like, oh, yeah, we're on board. This guy's ahead.
Where did this come from? This is a new technology.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we'll give you whatever you want, future man.
We'd write a letter in the post.
You've got mail. What do you? Okay, so let's circle back on Kona for a hot second, though. What's exciting you about like triathlon going forward? So I was there the last year. The men and women were both in Kona, but it was 2 days. So the women raced on Thursday, the men raced on Saturday, and then in the years since, that was way too overloaded. And by the way, like that was super crowded that year. There were tons of athletes. I think there were like 5,500 athletes, in a small town in Hawaii. I did come across a pool that was not free. It was up the hill a little bit, Waikoloa. you had to be staying there or else they wouldn't let you in. So maybe it was free if you were staying there. But anyway, I went to the main Kona Aquatic Center and did my 10-1s, and then I was out. But in the year since, it's kind of split off, and then you had like rotating between two different locations where the men raced in Nice and the women raced in Kona, and then they flip-flopped that. And then next year, now they're going back to the same day racing in Kona because, Ironman says that their athlete community has said that that's really what they want. And so I'm just curious about like, do you think that's a good thing for triathlon to go back to this one day race? Because I gotta be honest, like it was like an asinine amount of money to travel to Kona and pay for lodging during the week that I was there. But at the same time, like I would have been bummed if I didn't get the experience, and I had the Kona boner. I needed to go, needed to go, man. So I don't know. I'm just curious, like what gets you excited about the future of the sport of Ironman and triathlon racing, and what's kind of on your radar? I know it's very broad.
My buddy calls it chasing the dragon, which is like a triathlete trying to get to Kona. Because like Kona is Ironman, right? Like Julie Moss crawling across the finish line on the Worldwide of Sports in 1982. Like that put triathlon on the map, right? So everyone wants to go to Kona, but you just are going up and down a highway in the middle of a lava field, It's funny because they just did Nice for the last time, right? A few weeks back, the men race. And people were like, dang, this is a nice course. And I think people were finally trying to realize that it doesn't have to be Kona all the time. But now they're back in Kona because everyone just up and an uproar. And like you said,
recency bias.
Yeah, totally. But they didn't give it a chance is the thing. Like you can't make something new in 3 years. Like you have to give it more time. So now I went to Kona when I was a kid and watched my dad race too. Like I want to go to the Big Island next year and race. And that excites me more than going to Nice. But I think long-term, it would be cool if they switched back. And like you said, the local community didn't seem super pumped on the 2-day and the amount of people on the courses for Ironman now, it's not fair racing for the age groupers. There are way too many people on the bike course. It's like pelotons of cyclists. Now, if you're pro, you're out in front. There's motos, there's referees. Like we're racing a fair race, but not the age grouper. So like you just go in there and peloton around, and then it's just like you said. Imagine coming from Europe, like the travel to Kona, like Nice, France is much easier for most of the other parts of the world to get to too. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on the whole thing. But I am excited for Kona, and I love it there. Like I'm a California kid. I've gone to Hawaii many times in my life, and I like the island, so that excites me. But there's more money in triathlon now than ever before. The T100 helped with that. They kind of put that. The Pro Series is new for Ironman because T100 kind of came in. They put pressure on them. Ironman said we're putting more money into the sport. So I think it's a good time to be a pro triathlete. There's a lot of opportunities per se. But yeah, it's just like you said, it's so fast. It's almost daunting how fast some of these guys can bike and run. But
insane.
Yeah, it's a higher level than what they can swim. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's a much higher level than what they can swim. I feel like people were talking about like always whether or not the swim course record is going to be broken, and wasn't it like an age grouper who took it down last year? 46 or something, 45 maybe high.
45.
It's so condition dependent.
Something. It was a really fast year. He's a fast kid though. He was a New Zealander, and he'd gone like 3:59 the year before in a 400 meter.
Wow.
He's a legit swimmer, right? Yeah. And he was only a year off of that, so he's very fast. We're kind of buddies now actually because I get him shit like, it doesn't count if you're not a pro, dude. Like you gotta do it in the pro field, man. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit untouchable, honestly, at the moment, just because the conditions were good and he was in proper swim shape.
Yeah, for sure. But I think you have a little bit of asterisk to it. It's like if you have the fastest run split, but you finish, 40th, then does that really matter? Like you got to kind of factor in the race, I think so. Yeah. So I did the parallel though that I thought about when you're talking about like this competitive pressure that the upstart T100 put on Ironman to respond with sponsorship dollars and prize money for athletes is ultimately lifting, the pool and potential commercial opportunities and longevity in sport. Swimming doesn't really have that. There was like a couple of years ago with ISL, we thought had that potential, but like you mentioned, these two entities in triathlon realized that the money's coming from age groupers, and there was really no commercial opportunity, I think, for ISL, regardless of having funds frozen from a Ukrainian or Russian backed financier. But now you're seeing that pressure coming from the enhanced games, and we saw it in golf with with Liv and the PGA Tour, where you have like an upstart that's offering some type of different financial prize, and they're competing for eyeballs and attention. And at the end of the day, I think that having something like that is good to create more opportunities. I would like to see if there was an athlete that went to the enhanced games for a triathlon. If you had to pick one triathlete who was going to go enhanced, if they were to offer a triathlon, who do you think it would be?
Who do I think would take it?
Yeah, who do you think would take it? Who's the most likely to take it? Come on, you're
some random Euro, some German, some 22-year-old German who's super good. I was actually curious because, like, swimming, it makes sense. There's like an event, but it's like, what do you do in triathlon? Like, because it's not like as standardized. I mean, there's a distance, like you try to set the IRONMAN world record, but I feel like it wouldn't have the same ring to it, right? Yeah, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I mean, there's 100% some of the people at the top are doing a lot of gray area stuff, like 100%. I mean, it's probably happening in swimming too, right? I mean, you get some of these guys going in the hands game, you're like, oh yeah, see if you swim faster, huh? Right. So it's right. Interesting, and that's kind of what comes with the territory with more money as well, right? More money into the sport. Kind of brings that. But like you said, the T100 put the pressure on Ironman, but they're not doing particularly well. Like, you get a bunch of money, like the ISL, right? You get financed by some rich person, and it's happened in triathlon over the years, but the only sustainable giant that's stayed around is Ironman. And it's their market. So we'll see if the T100 is here in 5 years. And right now I would say it's 50-50.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. I hope it is for, the commercial future. Otherwise, you got a monopoly. And I think that ultimately doesn't do us any good, but, yeah.
Let me ask one more question. What is your guys' response, or not response, but like, have you guys gotten like pushback for having like Brett Hawk on the show a little bit, or like, people have been like, oh, this is stupid. And, I'm just curious.
Well, totally.
Like, I saw you guys had it. I'm like, oh, it is interesting. And in the end, it's like, dude, they're putting pressure on some established body that needs to change, right? And then maybe it won't be there in 5 years, and then there will be a change, and we'll all be better for it. Like, I don't know. It's a super interesting like thing to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they're, like you said, they're pushing some of the things that needed to change a while ago, but without anyone else pressing them, getting athletes paid more and things like that, it's never going to happen unless there's someone else that's going to be pushing the envelope. So we'll see what happens, like you said.
I was going to say, yeah. And honestly, like, Brett was my coach first, and coached me during the best years of my swimming career. So he's my friend above anything. So I don't have control over any of the decisions he makes, but also personally, I do think it's kind of interesting. And that's like a controversial take, because people say, like, give us negative feedback about platforming. And it's like, look, I totally hear the argument about the potential negative impact on, young swimmers who see this and think, oh, I can take performance enhancing drugs. But you know what? I also have similar take on people that were like anti-vax and yet are eating center aisle for their whole diet. And I'm like, your body's not a temple. So don't come after me about like knowing everything about like what goes into your body, And that's not like an anti-vax take or a pro-vax take. All I'm saying is, don't make the argument and then like, be holier than thou on one side of the coin and then totally ignore something on the other side. And so that's where I think they're like, easy to point the finger at the term PED, but not necessarily acknowledging the fact that, they're drinking 8 cups of coffee a day to get through their day. And do another, like, medicating their, this isn't like beer for emotion. This is for fun, but like I'm having a good time with some liquid confidence right now. And you could argue that some people abuse some alcohol too. So I just think it's like, let's all like call a spade, shall we? That's the problem that I have with some of the pushback, but also we get pushback too about, calling swimmers out, or, if they get disqualified for something and we want to, talk about it because that's something that's happening in sport, and people don't like it. That whole thing with Hayden Wild and triathlon was really hilarious to watch from the outside in, because you have John, I don't know if our listeners followed this, but you had the athlete who came second at the Olympic Games in triathlon, this guy from New Zealand, and he won or is leading the T100 series, the pro series, one of them. And he's going to win the thing if he hasn't already locked it up. And yet, there's this controversy about, was he cheating based on wearing, illegal shoes? And, and then somebody posted a clip of it and then he gets all pissed about it. And you're like, well, yeah, but you kind of were cheating. You're breaking the rules, and like he gets all mad, and you're like, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, are we fans or like, I don't know. I just think it's funny to observe these things happening in other sports because we feel them, doing what we do. But also I think there's like this, there's like the established media who it's their full-time job. And then, there's us who are just fans of swimming. We do this as a hobby. And I think it's so funny whenever there's people getting all, pissed about something or, taking it way too seriously than it needs to be taken, because it's lighthearted. It's entertainment. It's fun. If you're mad about it, go look somewhere else. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, Jack gets similar pushback at times, I think, for what he said over the years too, like from traditional media. But it's like, he's out here like talking a little shit, talking about triathlon. It's like, all right, you don't have to listen. See ya.
Yep.
Yeah. I bet he does. But it comes with the territory, I guess. You just got to accept it. So, all right, dude, we'll end with some rapid fire questions for you then. What's the hardest race in swimming?
$200 free long course.
Olympic gold, world record, or world champion triathlon?
Olympic gold.
In which sport?
Swimming.
In what event?
Two fly.
And what did you go?
149.
All right.
Boom.
149's coming. What do you think is the biggest fashion faux pas in triathlon?
Riding, watching the pool.
I was gonna say, come on, I thought that was alley-oop for you.
I was thinking fashion when it comes to swimming. I was gonna say cycling with no socks. People do that in races all the time. Training with no socks.
I have to supplement that I saw a good post this week because I've seen this in the wild, but it was alpha flies in the wild.
Oh yeah,
and just a carousel of a bunch of people wearing alpha flies to like. I saw them in the elevator at work one day.
There was a whole Instagram called Carbon in the Wild. I think your race number on your helmet is also pretty sus.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Race number on the helmet. Well, let's take that off after your race.
We get it. You did it. Good congrats.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, okay. All right. Speaking of that, IRONMAN tattoo, the M dot. Are we for or against the M dot?
We're massive against the M dot.
I get asked this question all the time. Did you get the tattoo? No, I did not get the tattoo.
But you get a tattoo. It's a big. I'm a fan of the corporation IRONMAN, so I got the tattoo. I don't even do the races.
Yeah, just a big brand fan. Yeah, I know. I got a Coca-Cola tattoo too because I like to hit that when I'm feeling down. So.
Olympics, yeah, huge fan. No, the rings, no, I didn't go, but I'm just a fan of the Olympics.
Never miss it.
All right, I got to get a reaction to OnlyFans has entered the sponsorship era in triathlon. Do we think Steph Clutterbuck's gonna show a little bit more than everybody
doesn't plan
is
to,
budgeting
but
for?
She wants those subscribers. So you know how it's gonna end up. Wait, is it in the swim space or no? Not yet.
I don't think there's
yet.
any swimmers who have signed on.
That
but
seems like an easier transition, personally. But.
I agree. I mean, there's not a whole lot left up to the imagination in swimsuits. So you think that you might as well just, you know, you could wear your swimsuit on your OnlyFans account and get some attention there. Get some paid subs at least.
I'm thinking about reaching out, honestly. I bet they got some money to throw around.
Definitely.
I think you should definitely reach out or reach around, however you need to do it to get there. Okay. What is the hardest set that you've ever done?
Ooh. I would say like, oof. You can edit this part out. I think I knew.
We'll edit it.
I was thinking about this. I think like 10 100s on 2 minute. Just as fast from a dive, as hard as you can.
Was there a moment in time that you remember that one?
We did it in high school. And I just remember being so just fucked at like number 6 and just not wanting to fall off the pace. Yeah. And like, you can't eat after for like an hour because you just feel so sick. Like it's one of those days. But yeah, I think that's because, you know, it's not enough rest to actually recover. And then by, you know, when you start getting into it, you're like, oh my God. And, you know, you want to get after it. You don't want to, you feel good. And then to just, yeah. So I would say that we didn't do that in college too much, stuff like that. But yeah, high school we did. We
did that one a bunch. And yeah, I'd say like more like 8 reps. 6 to 8, not 10. 10 is carnage. It ain't happening. But you know, I'd make it to 3, and by 3, I'm like, I don't know if number 4 is gonna happen.
Classic sprinter.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. What's the best athletic performance that you've ever seen in person?
What is? Just a Steph Curry game. No swimmers. What I watched him make like 11 threes in a game on one game we went to. And I gotta throw that down. He's like one of my favorite athletes too. I was gonna say something about Nathan Adrian in college. I'm like, nah, Steph's got him, dude. I can't compare Nathan and Steph. But watching Nathan go like 18-9 in college at any dual meet was actually like insane. And I just got to watch that all the time. I'm like, dude, this guy can go 18-9 at any, when that was, you know, a little bit unheard of, right? So that's a close second. But I'm gonna go Steph with the 11 threes.
Right. And Nathan probably wasn't wearing a suit for those, I'd guess, in that era. That was a little bit before you guys suited up for everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he could do crazy stuff in practice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm still pissed he didn't come to Auburn, but is what it is.
It's a superior school.
Listen, same coaching staff. I swam for Durden at Auburn, and then now Durden coaches Cal. So,
well, was Marsh an
tomato
Auburn
potato? Yeah. They swam for Marsh, and he's a Cal. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's basically the same.
It's the same.
Neither just missed the arrow, you know.
Dude, I'll say one thing. So like, you know, you guys probably talk about like culture and stuff and swimming. So Dave Durden, right? He was my coach. There's this coach named Mike Smith. And he's the NAU cross country coach. They're literally the same person. And he's created this national champion winning culture. And it's so funny. Like I watch him be interviewed. I'm like, this guy is Dave. And it's funny to see him in another sport, another college sport, like just creating the same environment. And it's super interesting. I feel like I've never had anyone to talk to it about, but I'm like, it's funny creating kind of that championship culture. And obviously that's what Dave Durden and Dave March have done super well over the years.
Right. I want to go see that. We were recently talking to some of our Australian guests about why all the Aussies always go to Flagstaff. It's like they flock to Flagstaff, and yet all the Americans go to Colorado because that's where the training center is. And I'm like, you guys, it's just like a weird thing. Like, what, we don't know about it? No Americans go there?
I've been. It's good. It's good over there.
Yeah, it's high. Okay, dream sponsor. If you could have any sponsor, who would it be?
Trader Joe's.
Okay. Okay. You struck a nerve. Because I have a quick aside. I've actually written to Trader Joe's corporate
for their shitty produce.
No, I've written about my disdain for them getting rid of the rainbow wrap. It was my favorite item at a Trader Joe's, and they replaced it with like a hummus wrap, and I was not happy with it. So I submitted a form on their website.
Dude, my sister just told me she did the same thing, and they got back to her, but they're like, "Yeah, sorry, we're not getting it back." But
they never got back to me.
Oh, they never got back
about
to
the rainbow wrap or something else?
No, something else.
Oh.
No one knows what the rainbow wrap is, dude.
Yeah, no idea.
They've grandfather. What's your number one item then?
Number one item. Oof.
You can give me top 3. I don't care, but just don't say those dark chocolate Reese's peanut butter cups.
There's these crackers. They're like cranberry crackers, and
okay.
They're hold the cone ice cream.
Okay.
And pot stickers. They're frozen.
All right. Yeah. The pot stickers are good too. All right. We'll take that. All right. Last one is how often are we doing social kick as a pro triathlete?
Not enough, but once a week, I think, actually.
That's not bad.
Well, as anti-social as it sounded like your setup is right now, I'll take it once a week, but we got to get some more social activity happening there in New York.
I know, right? No, I'll make sure we get it in. Anytime we swim, we got to do 200 social kick.
Hell yeah. Well, we're gonna send Luke your way so that you guys can sync up, and Luke's gonna show up. And I have to warn you that he is the slowest social kicker that has ever donned a pool. I don't know. Every time we do social kick together, and Luke wants to record something, it's like we're going backwards. So if he pulls a phone out to record anything, just know that you're going to be static. You're not actually going to be kicking anywhere. But
fake it.
You can be social, and that's the most important part of social kicking. So it'll be fine.
All right.
Greg, thanks for hanging out with us, dude. What's next up for you? How's dad life? Are you focused on that? Do you have a race coming up? What's next? Yeah,
focus on the dad life. We're about 3 weeks in. Just next year, just trying to like maintain a bit and do a little like high end bike work, because I have don't have a bunch of time, and probably hit the ground running in March next year and do the 70.3, probably Oceanside. But yeah, just kind of get to the end of the year, trying to maintain, but also maybe work on a few weaknesses, and then kind of build for some races next year. But dude, I'm doing Ironman next year. I want to go to Kona. I want that swim course record, and I want to show up there and do my dad proud. He got 8th in 1986, so I got to beat that. But maybe that'd be a big ask, honestly.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Go get it, dude. Well, let everybody know where they can follow you too.
Yeah, just on Instagram, like you search my name, my handle is G Harp and then ZORZ, G Harp Zorz. Just like an old name that I used to have with my buddy. And I make swim content actually too. That's part of my contract for my swim sponsor. So don't talk shit on it too much.
All right. No, we won't promise anything, but we'll always talk a little bit of shit, but the good kind, not putting anybody down. So, dude, fun to hang with you. Thanks again for what you're doing content wise. And I'm enjoying it. And it's fun to get to chat with you and reconnect with somebody who's doing a whole lot more athletically nowadays than I am. So good on you, sir. We're glad that you spent the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll get back on an Otillo course, dude. Let's do Catalina again. It's back.
No, absolutely not. I'm one and done. 7,000 meters of swimming was way more swimming, and my
John's
run
in,
and
whatever.
John can do it. He can sub out for me. He's doing way more swimming nowadays, so we'll think about it. But Greg, thanks for hanging out. That was awesome. That's it for this episode of Social Kick, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Thanks.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming, and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.